Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Mind Your Mission. I'm Liz.
And I'm Erin.
We're so excited that you're joining us for part 2, where we'll be sharing more about ourselves and the journey that led to starting this podcast. If you missed our introduction episode, be sure to click the link in the description to check it out. It's a quick listen and gives you a glimpse into our hearts behind launching this podcast. And then if you haven't heard part 1 of this episode, where I share my testimony, hit pause and go back and listen to that first, and then come here and listen to this. Because today, Erin is going to be diving into her background and bringing us up to speed on how God has shaped her heart and mind, guiding her to where she is today.
Yeah, so I'm Erin. I grew up in Washington State in a small town on the Olympic Peninsula, and my childhood was very full. After my sister fought and beat non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a type of blood cancer, when she was 9. She's 4 years younger than me, and so I was 13 at this time. After that, our family adopted the mantra, live every day, and we did just that. With both of my parents being teachers, our schedules were aligned, and we made the most of it. My sister and I were involved in sports, music, honors classes, extracurriculars, volunteer work, all of the things, and my family did it all as a team. We seized every opportunity, prioritized meaningful relationships, and we were raised to focus on doing something greater than ourselves. So when the question of what to do after high school came around, the military was one of the choices I had that encompassed those same things. It offered the opportunity to serve others, broaden my perspective, and gain life experiences that you simply can't put a price on. I always knew that I wanted to go to college, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to study yet. I was never very interested in school, to be honest, and so a military academy seemed like the perfect starting point. It provided a 4-year education, a guaranteed job after graduation, and the chance to avoid student debt. Plus, it was a path that would help me build a strong resume and open doors for future career opportunities after my 5-year service commitment if I decided that I wanted to pivot. So I grew up in an incredible family with strong conservative Christian values, but I wouldn't say that I truly knew God at a young age. I knew about him and was surrounded by people who loved him, but I didn't fully understand what it meant to have a personal relationship with him or the importance of being in his word until I went to the academy. Last episode, Liz was talking about how community really helped shape her relationship with the Lord, and same thing at the academy. I witnessed people my age prioritizing their faith, worshiping God, spending time in his word and praying, choosing to invest their time in these spiritual disciplines rather than using it for homework or watching YouTube. Like, that was foreign to me. And it was then that I began to grasp the depth of what it truly means to walk with God. Also, in the last episode, Liz mentioned that we were each other's first roommates at the academy, and I wanted to expand on that just to show how interwoven our stories truly are. We weren't best friends who spent every waking moment together by any means, but from the first time we met, there were these little God winks, things that in hindsight clearly point to the two of us doing ministry together today. So being Liz's first roommate meant that she was the first Christian that I truly got to know. There was something about her that caught my attention, and that was her joy. It was just a joy that didn't always make sense, especially in the midst of like the challenges that a military academy bring. And it made me wonder how. No matter what struggles came her way, Liz's joy seemed to remain unwavering. And what stood out most about her was how unashamed she was to give credit where it was due. Every Sunday, she was ready, Bible in hand, to worship God and share how he was working in her life. And during spring break of our freshman year, Liz and I both went on a mission trip to Puerto Rico, and it was there that I made the decision to be baptized. And who baptized me? Well, Liz baptized me. That year had been kind of a turning point for me, and I had realized that I'd been idolizing being in a relationship, and I finally understood, or at least started to understand, that my identity didn't come from my circumstances, but from God. And I learned that no matter how perfect our life might seem, whether we have a great family, wonderful experiences, or amazing relationships, nothing will ever feel truly complete until we accept God's grace and start to walk in relationship with Him. Liz and I were also both the same major at the academy, and the summer before our senior year, we had internships in Washington, D.C., and although we could have had separate rooms at the hotel that we were staying at, somehow we decided that it would be more fun to stay together. And so that summer we explored the city, cooked meals together, worked out, and had some great conversations. Before that summer, when we were stuck at the academy during COVID, I had started a YouTube channel out of need to do something more productive with my time. And Liz was in so many of my videos, and it's funny to look back at them now since we're actually creating online content together. So fast forward to the day after graduation in May of 2022, I married my amazing husband and moved to Virginia, where Liz is now. And what I didn't expect during that tour, I didn't expect the biggest part of that tour to be welcoming our son into the world. But God, in His perfect wisdom, knew exactly what He was doing. And He has used motherhood to shape my heart in ways that I never could have imagined. My son was born last January, and so all of 2024 has been a season of wrestling with the realization that my role as a mom is meant to be prioritized above any career outside of the home. And not every woman will marry, have children, or choose to stay home if they do have kids, but I do think that every mom can agree that bringing children into the world is nothing short of a miracle, one that we're so blessed to play a small part in. And God has used every single aspect of motherhood to grow me, challenge me, bring me joy, and reveal my selfishness somehow all at the same time. And it's been a humbling and beautiful process of learning how to surrender to God and to trust His design for my life and trust that what He says in His word is good. And Liz and I both still have a few years left in our military commitments, but we've pretty much decided that after that we want to transition out and focus on working from the home front. And we're both incredibly grateful for everything that our careers have taught us and for the experiences that they've provided. And we're proud to serve our country in that way. But we do feel called to create more time and space, the time and space that's required to prioritize the things that have an eternal impact. So we are in a season of a significant transition, one that we know is long-term as we still have 2.5 years left. And we really just want to share the journey with you as we navigate what it means to live out the intentional and specific design and calling that we have as women. So we hope that you will join us in this process wherever you may be on your own journey.
It's so crazy that the first thing you noticed about me was my joy, because pre-Christian me was one of the most bitter and angry people. You could ask my mom. I had a really big transition when I became a Christian, but it's just so cool how God changes us in a way that's so different that it cannot be ignored. And so I think it's just so crazy that that's what people would say about, they notice about me is joy. And I used to be the most joy-filled person ever. And then I also remember when you came to our wedding, and then the morning after our wedding, we were at the airport and we were opening cards. And we open a card from Erin and Liz, and we get to reading. And at the bottom, this is us at the airport, it goes, "Oh, by the way, I'm pregnant." And my mouth dropped. I was like, what? Because you were the first person of my friends to get pregnant. A lot of my friends have babies now, but I think you were the first. And I think a couple weeks after you, another one of my friends had told me they were pregnant. But that was just so crazy. And I think you found out a couple days, a few days before my wedding, right?
Yeah, I did not think that you're going to open the card before your honeymoon. I thought it would be a week or two before you open your cards. But, yeah, I found out a week before that, I think.
So you're like, oh, she'll find out in a few weeks and it'll be fine. No, we were sitting at the airport waiting. So we're like, oh, let's just open the cards and look. But I think it's so cool to look back at that now and just think of how far you've come, think of how far I've come. it's just crazy the work that God can do in our lives. And I love your story. It's so clear that God's hand has been guiding you every step of the way, and he put people in your life so that you could see him, and he made a way for you to know him. And I love the way that he's brought both of our stories together, and I can't wait to see where he leads us next in life and in doing this podcast together. We both had listened to a podcast this past week that was about starting a podcast, and it was talking about how a good podcast co-host is someone with a similar personal brand but different strengths. And I feel like that is us to a T. God has both transformed our hearts to have this desire for motherhood and this desire to have children. And we also have very different strengths, I feel like. I like the editing and kind of the behind the scenes sort of thing. And Erin's very good at like being on the camera, and she has experience in YouTube and stuff like that, and organizing guests and being the organized one because I'm not organized. But I like editing. I like having a task that I can do and accomplish. So I feel like God gave us different personality traits to be able to do this podcast together. So I'm just so grateful because we're not very similar, but we're also very similar, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like we have the same life mission, but we have different things we're good at. So it's just cool that we get to do this together. And I'm so thankful to have you as a friend. And I'm so blessed by seeing you become a mom and seeing how that transformation has gone in your life. And I'm so in awe of how the Lord can use us to impact other people and how sovereign he is in our lives. And not only did I impact your life at the academy, but you've had a huge impact on mine. Your zeal and passion for motherhood is part of what got me thinking about the joy and purpose that comes from investing in my family. And so just thank you for that. And the Lord has used you to really help shape my heart as well. So,
well, thank you, Liz. That's really encouraging. And I'm just so filled with gratitude.
Of course. And thank you so much for everyone for tuning in. You can find all of our socials linked below. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And I think you can follow on those. So follow us for our next episode. We're going to be uploading weekly on Mondays. So find us on Mind Your Mission Monday. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And with that, I'm Liz.
And I'm Erin.
Helping you mind your mission.